What if the last 7 days of May decides whether your favorite US altcoin moonshots or face plants? And what if I told you the one coin that everyone's dunking on right now might be the only one worth cheering for? So here's the deal, right? I woke up this morning, spilled half a mug of reheated coffee on my keyboard and saw 5 charts doing 5 completely different things. All of them are homegrown American projects. All of them are making May feel like an emotional roller coaster with a loose seatbelt. So I figured, why keep the panic all to myself? Let's talk through the highs, the lows, and the wait, did that lawsuit just land bombshells that could nuke or launch your portfolio before the month closes. So stick around, because the stuff at the end of this video might just save you from rage selling. So first up, we have Solana. Now I swear, Sol is like that kid who shows up to the party in a kind of thrift store jacket and somehow still steals everyone's date. Right, since April 24, right, it's kind of been up around 15% or so, right? Cruises from around $151 to roughly $171, mostly because Solana-based dApps raked in $1.2 billion in revenue last quarter. Now, when you realize that's a 20% jump quarter on quarter, you start seeing why traders are kind of fanning themselves like they're at a K-pop concert. Now, the chain's best quarter in a year, aggressive staking, everyone's kind of chanting Solana summer again. Yeah, I get the hype. But here's where the wet blanket comes in. Regulators punted decisions on 5 spot Solana ETFs until mid-2025. So just picture Sol knocking on Wall Street's door like, hey, can I come in? And the SEC just kind of slides the latch back in place. Now, the funny part is that it barely even dented investor appetite. If Sol can keep its head above $175, well, the next stop does look like $190 or even $200. But let's it kind of slip to $165 and suddenly we're all doom posting memes about revisiting $150. Personally, I've got an alert at $173 and another at $165 so that my phone can scream at me before I forget that there's actually a market. And a quick pit stop, if you want a spot where hundreds of us kind of street tested these kind of levels together, no gatekeeping, no paywall, hit the link to our free crypto Discord that's in the description down below. We're in there every day dissecting charts and occasionally sharing the kind of memes that could get you banned in more civilized servers. Okay, so let's tap the brakes then and shift gears to Chainlink. Now, Link was the quiet kid in class until someone handed it the microphone. Now, that moment, or the moment that cross-chain interoperability protocol, that is CCIP, went live on Solana, we saw a clickbait headline practically write itself. $19 billion in tokenized assets unlocked overnight, and boom. Link, it wicked to $17, pulled back, and is now awkwardly kind of sipping a 𝗕𝗓𝗓 at $15+. Now, we're still, about 4% up on the month over month. The graph is kind of sniffing around, Zeus's network's already in, and there's chatter that Oracle data stream upgrades are about to drop fresh gasoline on the fire. Now, traders are eyeing a return towards $18, like kids staring through the candy store window. Support? Well, stuff your eyes at around $14.50, because if that cracks, we're probably tumbling into that kind of classic Link Marines trench warfare at around the $12-ish. And have you ever noticed how Chainlink only gets truly noisy right before it does something messy? Like a kind of toddler that you know is about to throw spaghetti absolutely everywhere. Now, my buddy Eddie swears by buying the dip on Link, but he also eats, pineapple pizza. So take that how you will. Next up, we've got Cardano. Now, this is a project that literally rewrote its rulebook this year, right? 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓1694. It turned into a full-blown on-chain constitution in February. So the community kind of elected D-reps and are holding the steering wheel right now, not the original developer crew. Now, their treasury is stacked at about $1.1 billion, basically an IOU that we kind of keep building until 2030. Now, ADA kind of gained roughly 7% this month, from 69.7 cents to around 74.8 cents, although most recently we actually tapped up 84 cents. So it's been pretty sweet. Except May 23rd showed us how fast liquidity can vanish. So picture the price like a cartoon coyote sprinting off a cliff, fine until it looks down and nope, there's a comfy cushion sits at around 70 cents. Lose that and we are staring at 62 cents faster than you can say, where did my dry powder go? But a hold above 70 and you could see a lift up towards 85 and maybe even 90 cents. If you want to check out my latest technical analysis, you want to check out the Nick Regan channel. That's usually a link in the description down below, where I covered Cardano's ADA in some detail. Okay, story time. I tried staking ADA on a hardware wallet last month. Kind of felt like I was entering a kind of cheat code just to delegate. But once you're in, those sweet epoch rewards pop up and you start feeling like a low-key kingpin. Now, the whole governance revamp also means that proposals actually feel like town hall debates now, minus the empty pizza boxes. It's kind of messy democracy, but hey, it's still democracy. And talking about staking, you can stake to our own cheeky pool using the ticker Cheek. There's a link in the description down below for all of the details. And honestly, you can earn a nice passive income. And if you're not staking, you are just simply missing out. There's plenty of different pools to choose from, but personally, I think you want to support the channel. So why don't you go ahead and stake with Cheeky. Okay, let's slide into Avalanche because AVAX is pulling the slow and steady tortoise act. Up only 3% this month, but from around $22.34 to around $23.06. That sounds lame until you read Avalanche is quietly rolling out evergreen subnets for Wall Street pilots while simultaneously bro-hugging gaming studios at their London summit. So institutional subnet for TradFi, check, right? Another subnet for esports giant TSM, check. If bulls defend $22, well, the magnets above are $26 and then $30. Dip under 20 and everyone's tossing snowballs at each other while the bears roast marshmallows on the campfire. Now, my favorite part here is that subnets are like custom blockchains in the kind of bento box, right? Same ingredients, different spice. Now, you want super low latency for high frequency trading. Now, Avalanche says, sure, here's your subnet. You want a chain where your in-game sword is actually an NFT that can't get stuck on a kind of clogged mainnet. Same answer. Every time that I mention that at a kind of family kind of gathering, someone's aunt squints and asks if it means that she can buy, virtual Beanie Babies again. And maybe, Aunt Brenda, just maybe. Finally, we have Uniswap. Now, if Link was the toddler with spaghetti, Uni is the teenager slapped with a lawsuit after a weekend party got out of hand. Now, Bancor's waving a 2021 patent like an angry referee, insisting that Uniswap's constant product AMM infringes on their intellectual turf. Now, Uniswap is, for the moment, flat $6.03 a month ago, $5.98 today. Sounds boring, but that's just the kind of eye of the storm. Uniswap's Q1 treasury boosts $95 million in cash and stables plus 15.8 million Uni tokens. That's enough runway to lawyer up through to 2027 if needed. Now, technically, Uni needs $6.50 like I need my morning caffeine hit. desperately. Now claw above that and you can kind of flirt with $7.20, maybe even $7.80, but belly flop below $5.50 and that gravitational pull towards $5 gets real. Now I know we've kind of set range bound bots between 5 and 5.5 and 7, squeezing nickels each swing. Personally, I'd rather watch paint dry, but hey, someone has to farm the volatility. Okay, so now let's pull the camera back. What's the common thread trying, or at least tying, I guess, all 5 of these things together? On one hand, each of them has a kind of pioneer of something uniquely ambitious. Solana's speed and fees, Chainlink's data plumbing, Cardano's slow-cut governance, Avalanche's pick-your-own subnet adventure, and Uniswap's DeFi ambiguity. Now, on the other hand, they're each wrestling a totally different final boss level. ETF delays, interoperability expectations, governance decentralization, TradFi adoption, and patent grenades. So the real challenge for us as traders or bag holders is trying to figure out which storyline matters the most before the closing bell of May. Because the 31st of May, it is not merely just a calendar flip. It's actually a psychological checkpoint. Funds roll options, market makers square books, algorithms rebalance indexes. And that's why support and resistance lines magically gain magnet powers around this stretch. So picture it like 5 runners nearing the finish line then. Solana is sprinting, Link's pacing itself after a sugar rush, Cardano's jogging along with a clipboard, Avalanche is on rollerblades, and Uniswap's dodging a random spectator flinging lawsuits. Now, any of them could stumble, or all of them could break personal records. Either way, you're going to want to know which shoe is untied before they trip. And so here is what I'm doing. Now I have separate watch lists with color codes: green for tokens, specific catalysts, yellow for market momentum, and red for regulatory kind of thunderclouds. Solana's got 2 green and 1 yellow, but also a sneaky red because of ETF delays that can morph into headlines overnight. Chainlink is bright green until CCIP usage turns into actual fee capture. If that stalls, the green kind of fades. Cardano's mostly yellow, with a caution kind of flag if governance spats make headlines. Avalanche, 2 yellows, 1 green, no red for now. Uniswap, it's almost a kind of swap meets of kind of green and red, if you will. The lawsuit alone paints half the screen crimson, but Treasury Health brightens things up. And by the way, if you're sitting on the sidelines because trading fees scare you more than a horror movie jump cut, you should seriously check out Blowfin using the link that's in the description below. They're the up-and-coming crypto exchange that everyone is whispering about. The fee promos make moving coins feel less like getting mugged by gas costs and more like buying snacks at a dollar store. Now, I've been testing their interface for weeks, and yes, they serve the advanced features that you would expect: perpetual, staking, spot, and all of that. But they also manage to make the onboarding smooth enough for my crypto curious cousin, who still calls Ethereum the internet money thing, gives it kind of a whirl. And if nothing else, you'll see why a fresh platform sometimes feels more agile than some of the older dinosaurs. All right, so let's zoom into the single challenge that kind of threads through the entire article that we're talking about today, right? Uncertainty. Whether it's ETF approvals, interoperability adoption, constitutional governance, TradFi subnets, or courtroom drama, right? Uncertainty bleeds into price action, and humans hate uncertainty almost as much as they hate buffering videos. Let's face it, we all hate buffering videos. Now, that's kind of why we get these kind of seesaw price patterns. Someone panics, liquidity dries up, spreads widen, bots overcorrect, rinse and repeat. So here's a quick anecdote, right? Last Thursday around 2 a.m., I was kind of staring at the AVAX order book. A single, market sell of a few $100,000 cascades into a 3% drop in under 5 minutes. Why? Because liquidity thins out in graveyard hours. Solana did almost the same move 2 nights earlier, except it bounced harder because every degenerate yield farmer on Jupiter had bids set like land mines at $170. Watching it kind of felt like playing whack-a-mole with my own blood pressure. And so now the climax moment. Just imagine the SEC drops another delay notice. But this time it's for a Chainlink based product, or an Avalanche subnet pilot gets temporary halt orders, from a regulator. Suddenly, all 5 are smashed on the same headline. Or flip the script. Spot Solana ETFs get surprise approvals a month ahead of schedule. You think only SOL benefits. Well, history says liquidity sloshes around. Bullish contagion lifts Link, ADA, AVAX, and maybe even Uni as traders kind of rotate. That's why I refuse to marry a single narrative here. I'm dating the entire narrative universe, right? Commitment issues and all. So here's my game plan until May is officially in the rearview mirror. Number 1. Alerts on every major support and resistance line that we talked about. $175 to $165 for Solana, $18, $14.50 for Link, 85 cents, 70 cents for ADA, $26 and $22 for Avalanche's AVAX, and $6.50, $5.50 for Uni. Number 2. Keep 20% of the portfolio cash in stablecoins for opportunistic snipes, because nothing feels better than catching a wick that everyone else is too scared to buy. Number 3, right? Stay in the Discord, link down below, because, second opinions at 3 AM are priceless when your eyelids are kind of fusing shut. And number 4, diversify across different use cases. If Solana is your only horse, cool, but maybe grab a kind of saddle for Chainlink's data or Avalanche's subnets, so that you're not just betting your life on one single horse, not breaking a single leg. And stepping back, right, the real takeaway from this news roundup is less about kind of specific price targets and more about paying attention to catalyst clusters. Record, DRAP kind of revenues, governance shifts, interoperability breakthroughs, institutional pilots, treasury lawsuits. They kind of each produce ripples, right? And sometimes they even overlap. And that's kind of when waves become tsunamis. So having a plan will beat, having feelings, because feelings get louder exactly when logic matters the most. And so to recap, without kind of boring bullet points and all that kind of nonsense, Solana's flying high despite ETF fog. Chainlink is flexing its cross-chain muscles. Cardano's test driving full decentralization, Avalanche is wooing Wall Street and gamers, and Uniswap is punching lawyers in between pool upgrades. Any of them could boom, any of them could bust, and odds are at least one will make dramatic headlines before May checks out. Now, the smart money isn't guessing which one, it's being prepared or preparing for whichever one actually fires first.